Where we left off last week. We got a lesson in mathematics on how to generate great punching power, and Shachihoko regained his consciousness from being knocked out. Shachihoko then managed to get back on his feet and walked right up to Hanayama to quickly concede the fight. The look on his face said it all. He obviously felt outclassed. The chapter ended with Takugawa declaring the match was over. But now what happens? Will Shachihoko and Hanayama use their remaining time to talk for a moment, or will they simply walk away never to meet again? Will we get a new fight today, or will we just see Katsumi warming up? I don't know. I guess we'll need to turn the pages of time to get an answer to that. But I do know one thing. Guys, thank you for tuning in for another chapter of New Baki Dou. Let's pick up where we left off last week on the first page of Chapter 74. Chapter 74 starts with Hanayama and Shachihoko standing facing each other about a laptop's width apart, with their heads angled downwards at a bow. Clearly, there's a mutual respect, but on this day, the nature of each man's bow was just ever so subtly different. Hanayama's chin, for instance, was angled lower than Shachihoko's was, and this gesture proves to us that Hanayama can become very sentimental towards the foes he conquers. There's just so much to grasp here. You've got a clear winner and a clear loser. One man's hands are in his pockets, the other to his side. One man is pearly white and clean, the other is covered in dirt. One man's hair has been neatly combed and styled, and the other's top knot is almost completely unfurled. Everybody gets it, and everybody in the arena is up on their feet talking about it. But the two big men stand there for some time, not saying a single word, while the rest of God's creation rages all around them. That's what really stands out, and that's what's really worth talking about. Needless to say, page 1 was pretty great. After a hollowed moment of silence, the two begin to speak. The sincerity of the conversation was of the type that only warriors or winners and underdogs could ever hope to fathom. As they stand there talking, the not subtly at all stadium speaker rages on about one thought or another. The shuffling of people's feet, the creaking of stadium seats, and the crowd's murmuring could be heard all around as well. But none of that mattered as the two kings reviewed what was truly important on this day. Through the background noise, if one was observant enough, Hanayama could be heard complimenting Shachioko's brightly burning spirit showcased during the fight. If one was more observant still, Hanayama's head could be seen bowing greatly as he offered his praise. In response, Shachihoko offered a truly sincere expression. The shame, humility, and brute honesty in Shachioko's eyes said it all as he spoke his thoughts to Hanayama. He uttered, "I was dead from the beginning." But again, the writing was already on the wall. From here, Shachihoko talked about his perspective of the match, while Hanayama thoughtfully and harmlessly took in the story. Shachihoko relived how helpless he was laying on the ground the first time he was knocked down. The Rikishi recounted that virtually any follow-up attack on him while he was helpless would have killed him. Then Shachihoko would contemplate how Hanayama would always wait with his hands in his pockets for him to get back up instead of kicking him when he was down. It must have been a lot for the Rikishi to take in. It must have been a lot for Hanayama to take in as well, for the Yakuza solemnly stood by as he absorbed his opponent's story of his appreciated virtues. The two men continued to talk as some time went by, and then some more time went by. They must have talked about everything under the sun that pertained to their matchup. Each now sensing that the end for idle chat was near, they segued to goodbyes. Hanayama, using his middle finger, pushed up his glasses. The middle finger is a unique gesture in Japanese culture. It means brother. That's how he now felt about Shachihoko. They were brothers now and forever. Sadly, this moment could not last forever as well. Not saying a word, Shachihoko turned around and began to depart from the arena, stopping suddenly after a couple of steps. He then turned his head over his shoulder to speak a few words to Hanayama. He said, "Next time we'll do drinks over Chanko," and then cheerfully exited the arena amidst a sea of praise from the fans. Yeah, thought Hanayama. Next time for sure. He was smiling. The next thing we see is Katsumi in the locker room. He's waiting for his matchup with Shishimaru to begin. As he waits, he looks down at his new right arm and begins to understand his gift, thinking about Retsu as he examines it. You will recall that Katsumi had destroyed his arm fighting against Pickle, and then Pickle ripped it off, leaving Katsumi with only one good arm. A short while after losing his arm to Pickle, his friend Retsu lost his life in a death match with Miyamoto Musashi. Unbeknownst to Katsumi, a decision had been made to preserve Retsu's corpse for a short time so that his right arm could be removed and transplanted in place of Katsumi's missing one. When Katsumi heard the news, as told by Takugawa and Doppo, that the right arm of his dear dead friend had been prepared for transplant to himself, he became very unsettled. Initially, he thought gravely about the proposition, given the idea a bit of time to brew, and even supposed a refusal. Though in the end, he would see Retsu's arm as a true gift, being perhaps the greatest token of friendship that one could ever receive. Katsumi would end up accepting Retsu's arm, and the surgery to make him once again whole would proceed. These memories weigh heavy on his heart as he takes in the sight of his new hand. He sees that it's a good fit, being just the right size. He opens his hands and then squeezes them tight. Everything seems to work just fine. Then Katsumi holds his new fist close to his face to consider its awesome power and potential. Baki was watching the rawness of Katsumi's reflection from the background and decides to cheer things up a little. He tosses a plastic bag towards Katsumi and suggests he spar with it for a bit to warm up. The bag would fly from place to place as Katsumi's powerful strikes knocked it about, leaving a trail of thunderous smacks each time it was hit. Sensing that his bout with Shishimaru, a top-ranking Rikishi, was about to start, he grit his teeth hard and let fly a deadly horizontal chopping strike on the dancing bag, cutting it cleanly in two as if it was cut by a katana. The bag fell to the floor at his feet and lay there in miserable shape. Perhaps the bag is foreshadowing something. Anyways, Katsumi marvels at his newfound power. Suddenly and strangely, the spirit of Retsu appears behind Katsumi, but only Baki seems to see it. He tells Katsumi, "You've been possessed." Then the chapter ends. What another great chapter of Baki Dou. What do you think will happen next? Will Katsumi and Shishimaru's fight get off to a fast start? Will theirs be a short fight or a long one? Will we finally see things from the sumo wrestler's perspective? I guess we'll need to wait another week to find out. Thanks everybody who made it this far. Make sure to support my channel. Give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my content. And I'll catch you on the next chapter of Baki Dou.